All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Just finished getting the new Fishfinder rigged up on the trusty Old Town Predator here. Finally decided after 3 years of running a super basic Garmin Striker 4, I'd give myself a little upgrade. So I'm going to show you guys in this video how I have this Fishfinder rigged and wired on the Kayak. This is probably one of the most common questions that I see a lot of people asking in these kayak rigging forums on Facebook and online, is how to set up a Fishfinder on one of these boats. So hopefully this video will give you guys some ideas if you are installing a Fishfinder on your own kayak. So here it is, guys. This is a Hummingbird Helix 5 Chrip GPS G3 with the down imaging capability. And it took me a little while kind of going back and forth on different brands and like what specific model I wanted. I'm going to go over this in a lot more detail in this own video, but just to give you guys a basic rundown, I decided to go with this particular unit for a couple of reasons. The first one being the down imaging capability is fantastic on these. It really helps for like inshore bridge fishing, even like inshore river fishing and stuff like that where you're looking at deeper water. It really breaks down like if you're looking at like sunken tree branches or rock piles or that kind of thing down there a lot better than a traditional graph will. And that was a big selling point for the Hummingbird for me. But the real thing that kind of tipped it over the edge, because you can get down imaging from like any of the other brands at a similar price point, what you can't get at a similar price point from most of the other brands is the chart and navigation possibilities that the Hummingbirds have. Just to give you guys an example, in the Garmin lineup, to get the same charting abilities that you're able to get from these upper end Helix 5 units, you're gonna have to upgrade to the EchoMaps version, which is on average gonna run you anywhere between $50 to $100 more than you're able to get from this unit. So in my opinion, the features that Hummingbird is able to pack in at this price point makes this one of the best kayak units that you're able to get, at least on the lower end of the spectrum where you're talking about maybe like $300 to $500 for a Fishfinder. This one is definitely the most feature packed at its price point. So the way that I wanted to set this up is so that the Fishfinder, the battery, and all the wiring and everything is all one unit. That way if I want to take this off and throw it in the back seat for transport, I can do that. Or if I want to switch this to a different kayak or switch it over to the other side of my own kayak, this entire thing just comes off as one unit. It's super simple. The only part of this setup that's not connected to this main unit is of course the transducer. And these Old Towns do have this super convenient scupper that's located up here in front of the pedal drive that is specifically set up to mount a transducer underneath the hole. So I decided to go ahead and keep that for a number of reasons. I will flip the hole over in just a few minutes and kind of show that to you guys. But let's start by talking about this setup here. This is like the most exciting thing I've done to my kayak in quite a long time. I'm super stoked about this. So the base for this system that I've set up is this battery box down here, and this is awesome. For a long time, I've actually been running my battery literally in a Ziploc bag, just sitting down here in this little side pocket. Most of you guys that regularly watch my channel have probably seen that and laughed at me a little bit. So this has cleaned things up a lot. This battery box here, this is actually not the YAKATTACK CELLBLOK. This one is actually a knockoff that I found on Amazon for like half the price, and quality wise, I mean, it's fantastic. It's like the same thickness plastic, same material and everything. Like it's like a direct copy of the CELLBLOK. So far I'm pretty happy with it. Quality wise, it actually looks pretty dang good. I will link that one as well as the name brand CELLBLOK and everything else you guys see on my kayak down below in the description. But basically the way that this works is it just has this little door here on the side. You can slide open and you can see the battery down inside there. This is just your standard lead acid. This one's a 7 amp hour, but these boxes will fit up to a 10 amp hour battery. That's my power cable right there connecting to the battery. You can see that they do have this little cutout right here on both sides, so you can run your cable through there. And then there's a little tab on the bottom of this door that slides into that detent right there, and that's what holds the store in place. So you can just slide this back in there and it will lock into place, keep your battery nice and secure. So super organized, way more organized than what I've been running for the past couple years. Something else really nice about this, whether you get the name brand or this knockoff, is the wire management on here. It gives you this nice spot to wrap up your power or your transducer cable, so no more cables flopping around in the kayak getting in the way. Something else too that I really like is the adjustability on these battery boxes. You can see that they've got 3 holes pre-drilled, so I've got this one kind of offset, that way it's flush with the side of my kayak and doesn't get in my way. I do have this one set up on a 10-inch YAKATTACK gear track, and this actually comes with the hardware. So it comes with those little T-nuts or those T-bolts that slide into your gear tracks, and then it's got these nuts that will tighten down and lock it in place, and it is super secure. Now, something that I think they could improve on, even the name brand one from YAKATTACK does not come with a gear track pre-installed on the top of it, so that's something I think that they could do that would improve these a little bit. Not a big deal. I had a spare one laying around. I just cut that in half and screwed it into the top of it. On that gear track, I do have a YAKATTACK lock and load base secured down on there. If you guys are unfamiliar with these bases, these are freaking awesome. I love these. Railblaza makes some decent ones, but I think that these are more secure than the Railblaza ones. I like these a lot. This is the YAKATTACK lock and load Fishfinder mount that I have on there. In addition to being extremely secure, all of these YAKATTACK lock and load accessories are awesome because they have this locking tab that simply opens up, and then you can pull that off of there without any problem. These bases are the same ones that I use to mount my GoPros on and all kind of different accessories. You can put rod holders on these. Just an awesome setup from YAKATTACK. Really great product here. This is like the main selling point for me with these cell blocks, is that I can literally just take this entire thing off of the gear track, and now the Fishfinder, the power cord, the battery, and the mounting system is all one unit. And like I said earlier, I can move this to the other side of my kayak. I can put it on a different kayak. I can throw it in the back of the truck for transport. And these T-bolts just stay right in the kayak when I take the Fishfinder off, and I can just tighten those nuts back down and secure them onto the track so they don't go missing. Now alternately here, setup is super simple. When I get to the water, I'm getting all set up. All I have to do is drop these holes onto the T-bolts on the track, and then just take these nuts, and these just screw down right on top of those T-bolts. And then I can just take my transducer cable, plug that right back in, and that's it. Fishfinder's rigged up and ready to go out for a day of fishing. Super, super simple and convenient. Now, I mentioned to you guys a little bit earlier in the video that I do have the transducer set up in the designated spot underneath the kayak and the scupper hole there. So that's the one part that I don't have attached to this Fishfinder. The nice thing about these though is there is one more attachment for these that YAKATTACK makes called the SWITCHBLADE. And essentially what the SWITCHBLADE is it is an attachment that goes right here between the Fishfinder mount and the cell block that has an arm that comes off the side and runs down into the water that you can mount your transducer on. That gives you a lot of benefits, the main one being that now your transducer is also included in this bundle. So you can literally take the entire bundle off like I just showed you guys and have the transducer with it, which is extremely convenient if you are somebody that's going to be moving this between different kayaks. The main disadvantage to doing that, in my opinion, is one, now you have something hanging down into the water. That's just one more thing for a fish to get wrapped up on or catch your hook or your line or something on. The other thing is I have a couple buddies that have those switchblades, and I notice that constantly they'll bump it without realizing or something, and now that transducer will be twisted backwards or out to the side or something and not pointing straight down under the kayak. So for me, that is why I opted to just go ahead and run the transducer down through the hole in this nice little spot that Old Town gives us. Now on a lot of these newer Old Towns, they have kind of gone away with this nice molded in cutout, and they've gone towards a more traditional transom style mount with a couple bolts right here. I personally like this style a lot better on these older Predators because they've got a couple cutouts on the back and on the front that allows that transducer to stay nice and flush, perfectly tucked in there. That one, keeps it up off the bottom so it's protected in that nice little pocket. But most importantly, you guys can see that it's perfectly 90 degrees flush, which means that it is giving you a perfectly accurate reading of what's directly underneath you. Whereas with that transom mount, you do have the potential to kind of knock it out of position slightly and mess up your reading a little bit. So this is a great feature that you really only see on some of these older Old Towns. I like it a lot. So I opted to just go ahead and do this with mine. I did use hot glue to just kind of hold it in place there. It's not the best option, but it works pretty dang good. Hot glue is one of the few types of glues that you can use that will actually adhere to this type of plastic. A lot of different super glues and stuff like that won't adhere very well. So hot glue is a great choice. It holds that transducer in there locked nice and tight. Now, final thing I want to show you guys here before we wrap this up is the wiring, how it's set up inside the hole, which I'm actually not super stoked about. The guy that owned this kayak before me had no idea what he was doing, so he drilled a hole here and he drilled a hole under this access plate, which is a terrible position. Guys, if you have this boat, don't drill underneath that access plate. The reason that I say that is because this is the lowest part of the hole right there. So when you're going through the surf or chop, all the water funnels down and pools inside that hole. So essentially all that he's done is make it so it drains down that hole directly into the kayak. So luckily they do make a couple pass-throughs specifically for wiring that I can buy and plug these holes to make them waterproof, or at least water resistant. So I will be doing that, but since those holes are already drilled through the hole, I just decided to go ahead and use them for my application here. So I've got the transducer wire coming out of the back of the Fishfinder. I did tie just a little knot there for now so it can't accidentally pass back through that hole. And then you guys aren't going to be able to see it very well here, but I do have all of the wiring for the transducer bundled up and zip tied up here up against the top of the hole so it's not down soaking in the bilge water. And then using that hole that the guy drilled under this, I ran the end going to the transducer back out and down through the scupper hole to the transducer. Now on that note, these older Predators do not have any wire pass-throughs pre-installed on them. That is one advantage of going with the Switchblade setup, is you don't have to run any wiring through your hole. If you do choose to and you need to drill a hole though, instead of putting it underneath there where that guy did, I probably would opt to put mine right here, which is where they put it on the new PDL 120 Pro. The reason being is that that's a vertical surface, so you're not going to have any water pooling on top and just funneling down into the hole. I'm super stoked about this setup, the down imaging and the GPS charting and all the new features of this this is going to help to give us so much more insight into these areas that we're fishing than that older Garmin Striker 4 that I've been using for many years ever could. Hopefully this video helped you guys out too. Like I said, there's a million ways out there to install a Fishfinder. This is not the only one, but hopefully this at least gave you guys some ideas and a little bit of insight that can help you in your own application. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it and you're not subscribed already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future content. Hit that like and leave me a comment down below. Thank you guys. We'll see you on the next one.